Ben ritrovati a questa settimana italiana virtuale. Nous allons maintenant au cours d'art avec Frank Caracciolo.
Hi, my name is Frank Caracciolo, and I'm here today celebrating Montreal's Italian Week. I'm an artist and educator here in Montreal, and what we're going to do today is give you a short course on monoprints. Monoprints are, it's one print made on paper, and today we're going to be using bond paper, which is a little bit heavier than your standard copy paper. What you'll need to do this project is water-based paint, and this is an acrylic paint we're going to be using today, but what you can use is tempera paint, which are found in schools, and also gouache works really well. They're all water-based paints, they wash out, so it should be fine to do at home. What you'll also need is some vehicles to hold your paint, some cups, some plastic trays, and what we're going to do is explain to you a little bit about the process. And what I have in my hand today is a piece of found wood, and this is really one of the fun parts about doing monoprints is you find this wood anywhere. You can find it in a recycled bin at maybe one of your local hardware stores, and it's just a block of wood, nice and heavy, and we lay it on the table. And this block of wood has a little texture because it is wood, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply some paint on that, and we're going to make a monoprint. So what you'll need is some paint brushes, and I use pretty much old paint brushes. These old paint brushes are great. Some of them are hardened, you know, the ones that you might throw out. We use them again, and you could actually draw through the paint and make a print. And I'm an abstract artist, so I really like to play with color, and I like to be physical with the paint. So without further ado, I think we're going to get started. So I'm going to just take some paint. I'll just show you. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. And there's really no set method. You just kind of apply what you want onto the surface. And you want to cover the entire surface from the edge. But you can't put too much paint. If you put too much, you'll end up with a blocky, blobby kind of a print. And that's not what we want. We want a colorful, beautiful print. And I'll do several just to give you an idea. And we'll just keep applying paint throughout. It's a pretty simple process, and it's fun to do at home. You can play around with this and make things with it. You can make gifts for people. You can make cards, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So we have our paint applied onto the block, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to set, and today I'm just going to plop it down on there, but what you do is you just lay it down, and you burnish it with your hand. And you want to try to get to all the edges, which makes a clean print. And here we go. And that's a print. That's a monoprint, okay? So you can see it's really abstract. It's very different. I'll let you see the block as well. So there's the block, and there's the actual print. Now what you can do is if you have too much paint on it, you can continue on that same block and make another print right off of that. You don't want to waste your paint. And this is something I find I do a lot in schools. Kids love it because they don't know what's going to happen, and nobody does really. When you make a print, that's one of the beauties of this process is you just don't know what's going to happen when you pull up the paper. And again, this is a light print. So this one out of the two that we've done, and I'll just hold them this way. You can see the difference. Okay, so let's continue, right? So what we do is we just take a rag, another thing that you might need, and you just clean off the top. And I don't mind some of the residue of the paint below because it ends up just making a richer print as you go. So again, I'm just going to apply some different color. And it's really great to, I mean, I know a lot of people are home right now and they need things to do with their kids. It's a very easy thing to do. You don't need many supplies. It's not very costly to do. But the results are really beautiful when you come up with different ideas. You can actually scratch through this. I'm going to take this as an old dried brush. And I'm just going to scratch through and make designs. Just haphazardly, just kind of drawing through it. And again, if I just take a sheet of the bond paper, lay it right over the top, tap it down to hold in place, burnish it with your hand, and make sure you get all the edges, which makes a clean print. And again, And this time, it might be hard to read right away, but you'll see some of your drawing comes through. So what you can do is if you want to be a little bit more creative, sometimes the kids want to see something actual. I'm going to just wipe this quickly. Actual image. You might want to make a little sunburst. And maybe put some red. You could also use these foam brushes that they sell. They sell at the dollar store. And depending on what you want, what you really want to accomplish, if you want abstract, if you want something more realistic, you can put a little blue sky. And again, the color that's underneath from the previous print is going to pick up, so you don't have to stop and wash everything all the time. But you do want to get some of that. Let's see what we're going to get. Again, simply burnish it down. Try to rub it all in there. And so you have a little sunburst, right? So you can think about as you're working with these monoprints, you could start painting on it. You have to just be cautious that when you're painting on your surface that you got to keep moving quickly, because if you don't, the paint will dry and your print won't be complete. So that's just another one. And I want to just show you this. I'm just going to take a second, and if you notice on the wood that we're using, there's all these textures and you have grains in the wood, and these make beautiful prints. I'm going to do one right here with this wood just to give you an idea of how the texture looks. So my suggestion would be to get yourself a few different blocks of wood and play around with the texture that the wood gives you. Really simple art to make at home. You make greeting cards, you can make posters with this as big as you want to go. And again, the things that we're doing here don't cost much, which is really great. And you could rub it, you could actually feel the texture of the wood. And when you bring it up, you can see how the texture really complements the print. And that's what you're really after. You're after these differences. Every time you make a print, something else will come up. I have these small pieces of scrap wood, and if you notice, they look like they were cut from something else, right? Like somebody was cutting something with a bandsaw, and they said, you know what, they just threw these in the scrap bin. And I took them and I said, you know what, let's just try something like this. We'll make maybe a little greeting card. So very simply, want to make something to give to somebody. I'll just do two colors. And let's see, I have a pre-cut here. So this is a pre-cut little card that you can make. And I'm just going to put this down. And we're rubbing it again, burnishing it, trying to catch all those edges. And we lift up. And we have a very sweet little thank you card if you want to give a thank you card to somebody, or just make a card if you make your own, design your own line of cards. This is a great way to do that. And I just want to go back into this one other thing with the prints. What really makes a print for an artist is that little signature. So if you want, you go to your print, your initial print, and you sign it. Sign it maybe on the bottom right, and I'm just going to sign my last name. And there you go, right? So, I mean, it's really a funny thing, but as soon as you sign it, it becomes that piece of art that you want to give to somebody in your family you want to hang up. Maybe put it in a gallery, maybe just give it to somebody as a gift. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more, maybe with a different texture. And let's using a lot of this. Again, another block of wood, another texture. So you can find these different surfaces that you could work on. What I like is these heavy blocks, because when you're pulling up the paper, they stay stationary and they don't move around so much. And that'll help you when you're making multiple prints. If you want to just keep going, you don't have to wash it off so much. You just wipe it clean and keep going. So, and I'm going to use my scraper, and you can use all these different tools, and I'm just going to mix the color a little bit just with the scraper. I'm going to add some more color. And being an abstract painter, one of the pleasant things about working like this is you don't know really what's going to happen, and these little things that happen, these little quirks that happen with the color, like you can't really control, but then when you're done with it, it looks really beautiful, and it's very unique. And the whole idea of a monoprint is that each print is unique to itself. If we were going to silkscreen, like a lot of people, they have silkscreen images on their shirts, those are prints that are multiple prints. And this is a monoprint. So one time, one shot, and you get a print. And here it is. So, well, you can look at it either which way. This is the way it was printed. So that's another print, right? So it depends. If you want to decorate your home, you might want to pick a certain color scheme and then use that color scheme and then frame them. And when you frame something like this, I mean, we have very simply, we have a frame from a local dollar store, very simple frame. And I think this is, oh, it's still a little bit wet, but I'm going to put it in anyway for us, just to give you a sense of what it might look like framed. And so that's something that you could do at home, and you can do multiple. And if you have children and you want to put their artwork up, give it to their grandparents, or display it, just display it in a gallery or so on. This is a great, easy, cost-effective way to make art at home.
Wow, quelle belle technique agréable à apprendre. J'ai bien hâte de l'essayer. Dès 20h dimanche le 16 août, ne pas manquer le défilé Moda Sotto le Stelle.